Hi there, welcome back to the channel, coming to you on what is the day after cut day, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this video tonight rather than at some point during the day, just to give everything a little bit chance to breathe and let all the stories play out and who's signing what after the cuts, what trades have been made, who's been picked up, who's moved to practice squads and all that sort of stuff. So I just want to give this a little bit more time. So I'm recording this now at 7:45 in the evening. Whilst most of the news has died down, but as is the case with the NFL, you never know exactly what's going to come up next. But for the most part, I'm just going to go through what I believe are the four biggest takeaways from cut day and from if you want to put it, signing day as well for a couple of people, and just see what the NFL landscape is. And the first one is probably obviously the biggest headline of the day, and that is Bailey Zappe and the New England Patriots. And I just want to touch on the New England Patriots quarterback situation as a whole as well. But first, we'll start with Bailey Zappe. Just a bit of a weird situation. I don't know if this is like Bill Belichick trying to prove that he's smarter than everyone else, or just ignoring what the will of the people are. Because you saw Bailey Zappe last year when he came in brief moments, that the fans really did get behind him. Part of it probably because Mac Jones was not living up to what we saw from him in his first year. The struggles behind that and the reasons behind that with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge coming in as offensive coordinators when they were completely out of their depth. But Bailey Zappe comes in, gives them a little bit of a spark, most notably in that Monday night game against the Bears. But for some reason, obviously something has not worked out. You would think that, again, with what has gone on with the New England Patriots this offseason, that maybe he would give Bailey Zappe that fair chance to at least have a competition with Mac Jones. But as things stand, again, at 7:45, the only quarterback on the New England roster is Mac Jones. Now, they have re-signed Bailey Zappe to the practice squad, but at the moment, there is just that one quarterback, and is Mac Jones. Maybe this is leading into a situation where Bailey Zappe is being held out as a backup last resort option, whilst they look for the veteran free agents. We discussed who there was yesterday. I don't have him in front of me, but I remember Matt Ryan was being mentioned. Colt McCoy after he was released from the Cardinals. Carson Wentz is there as well. Lol, Tom Brady is. I'd laugh if. Would be the ultimate irony if Tom Brady went back. I don't think he will, but Tom Brady is still officially listed as a free agent in some places. So maybe they go down the line. I still do not know what the whole situation with the New England Patriots and the quarterback is going to be and what it looks like. But it's just, what is Bill Belichick doing with this? Again, you want to say that Bill Belichick has the benefit of the doubt with what he's done from 2000 to 2020. He deserves a lot of credit and a lot of money in the bank. The last 3 years, though, has tested that money, and how much leeway has tested that money in the bank, and how much leeway do you really want to give him? This is going to be he's had 3 years, 2020, 2021, 2022, without Tom Brady, and we've seen that, let's say, success has been fleeting. Made the playoffs in only one of those years. That was Mac Jones' first year. Missed the playoffs the other two. Has his benefit of the doubt run out, or do you give it one more year? And if it is this 1 year, then that is putting a lot of pressure on him to at least show that, and to extend Bill O'Brien, who I think when the time comes for Bill Belichick to go, that will be it's his job in waiting. But you just wonder what the whole process is with Bill Belichick and with Mac Jones. Is this just him trying to say, still trying to prove that his way is the best, and no one shall question Bill Belichick. I am the grand poobah. I am the greatest coach in NFL history. Is that still the case? Does he still want to prove that case? And doing it this way with still seem like an underdog, a quarterback, or someone who's not in the top 10, depending on how you want to do it, maybe even top 15 in the NFL, a quarterback, and just saying, right, you don't need a star quarterback. I make people star quarterbacks, and go on from there. Whatever it is, I just do wonder if this is Bill Belichick losing his touch. Again, as I said, he's got a lot of credit in the bank, but I think that credit, this is the year where we say, right, does he still have it, or does it officially run out? And I think the quarterback situation is going to be a key factor in that. No, obviously Mac Jones. Again, the way things have worked out, he's still going to start barring any unforeseen circumstances. But you just wonder if it doesn't work out with Mac Jones this year. Does that signal the end for Bill Belichick? And is it ultimately, ironically, you could make the argument that a quarterback saved him for all those years in New England, because if you look at Bill Belichick's record with the Cleveland Browns and basically his record without Tom Brady, it's not been that great. And ironically, a quarterback was the one that saved him, and now the quarterback situation is the thing that's going to basically bring him down. So that's going to be interesting to see, but I genuinely do not understand what the thinking is. At least handling it in this way with the New England Patriots. It just seems a bit backwards the way that this has all been handled. And as someone who again grew up in the Patriot, not wanting the Patriots dynasty to do well. Whilst I talked about the Eagles yesterday and the Dream Team and how it's funny I referenced it in reference to the New York Jets and how it would be funny to see the Jets again after all this hype. Similar sort of thing after everything that's gone on in New England and how they changed the NFL landscape. I'm sure this is felt up across every single fan base other than those up in Foxborough. It would just be funny if this is how if the New England Patriots continue going down and Bill Belichick just rides off into the sunset. It would be great. And again, if it's a quarterback situation that drags him down in the end, ironically, that would just be a fantastic way, at least for the outsiders, for him to go out. Moving on and staying in the AFC East, and is Tua Tagovailoa. General Manager Chris Greer mentioned that basically they want to give Tua a contract extension. Obviously, they picked up his 5th-year option, but they're not going to start the conversations until after the season is over. Now, obviously, that about when they're going to start the contract conversation is a bit of a talking point, because you look at his class, the people who came in during the 2020 draft. Justin Herbert, in no particular order, by the way. Justin Herbert, his contract's been done. Joe Burrow, his is, shall we say, pending. We know he's going to get one. How his injury, they didn't practice, affects things, and starting the clock and everything. And whether or not it's going to impact him going into this season, it shouldn't do, because Joe Burrow is arguably the second best quarterback in the NFL if we put Patrick Mahomes at number 1. Some might say Jalen Hurts, but again, Hurts has 1 year. Burrow has a little bit more of a CV, but Joe Burrow is, again, arguably number 2 quarterback in the NFL, but his is pending. And obviously, just touched on Jalen Hurts, he got his contract as well. They were all in Tua Tagovailoa's draft class in 2020. They are, have got theirs either done or going to be done. And Tua's has to wait for his long-term big extension to come through. But I do applaud the Miami Dolphins for going and doing it this way, because similar to Joe Burrow, injuries have to have an impact, and going back to Lamar Jackson as well, they have to have an impact on the contract negotiations. And with Tua Tagovailoa, what happened with him last year has to play with effect. Now, whilst it's not at least a concussion is something that it's a big injury, it's a serious injury. I don't want to diminish what concussions are and what head injuries are, but I just personally don't put them in the same level of how they can affect you, at least on the day-to-day. Long-term, I know there's problems, but on the day-to-day, immediate future in the NFL, I just don't think it has, or I'm not saying it doesn't have an effect, but I just don't put it in the same class as an ACL or an MCL or basically anything below the neck. A broken shoulder or a torn ACL in your knee or elbow injury. I just don't put them in the same class. They're all serious, but they're just not in the same class in regards to how they should be treated and how they should be looked at, and how they factor into the equation. But with what happened with Tua Tagovailoa last year, how is he going to be able to come back from it, and is it going to affect his play? I think it is very much a smart decision from the Dolphins to wait until this year is over, and then actually take a full look at things and assess things from there. I've talked about Nick Bosa with the 49ers. He is someone that can impact a game as big as a quarterback. So you have this player and we've seen what Tua Tagovailoa has done with the Dolphins. There was some argument for him to be MVP going into last year, not going into, but at some stages last year with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and what they were able to produce. So, like I talked about with Nick Bosa, you just pay him now. With everything that's happened with Tua Tagovailoa, I completely understand and totally am on board with them waiting until the end of the year to give him that new deal. Just because you want to have as much of a sample size as you can, just to see how the concussions impacted him in any way and all that sort of stuff. So leaving it until the end of the season, great. Also, you can also on an on-the-field standpoint, if we take injuries off the field, on the on-the-field standpoint, how is he going to match up and how is it going to look if, say, the Jets win the division and Bills come number 2, and Tua Tagovailoa doesn't, or isn't able to win out in the big games, especially within the division as well, and if that costs them playoff seedings and division standings and everything, then that could be something that gets held against them, because this is going to be a very big, tough testing year for the NFC East. So again, any further examples or as much data as you can gather on Tua Tagovailoa, then you want to do it again on the field and off the field sort of stuff as well. So I applaud them. I hope he gets a big contract. Again, I am very much a pro Tua Tagovailoa person, and again, hopefully it all works out for him. But very much a case of the proof will be in the pudding this year for him. Sticking on quarterbacks and touching on someone I touched on earlier, and is Joe Burrow, who as I mentioned suffered his calf injury earlier in training camp and returned to practice today. Now, those of you who read the story on BaldwinSportsMedia.com this morning, I wrote that article at about, I think it was 9 o'clock. So obviously, and I was basing the information off yesterday, which was head coach Zach Taylor basically, when asked when he's going to be coming back, he said we'll see, and then he turns up today. So just an example of how quickly things can change. And I was using the information I was using was all the information that was out there at the time. Then, of course, it comes out today. Perhaps turns out I and other people in the media were played, and this was the plan all along, and he was basically dragging us along. How long is it going to be? We'll see. And then he comes along tomorrow. But as I touched on in the article, which now gives me a chance to clarify because we have the new information, my whole point in the article was hopefully the Joe Burrow gets back quicker, sooner rather than later, because whilst he is familiar with the offense and he has all his weapons and he's used to them and everything along those lines, it's just a case of making sure that Joe Burrow is in a healthy position leading into the season, because much as I said, I've said this point before, but when you talk about the AFC, particularly on a quarterback basis, you have to bring it up. The AFC just looks so competitive this year that there are teams that, again, 1 or 2 games could be the difference between the 1 seed and the 2 seed, the 3 seed, the 4 seed. And even within their division, it could cost them, 4th seed down to the 7th seed, just because of how competitive and how tight divisions are, and the conference as a whole is going to be this year. So the fact that Joe Burrow is now back in training, and he's got it's Wednesday, so a week, and they play on the Sunday. So a week and a half to get ready. That's a good thing. The whole point about we'll see was if this injury lingers up till next week and he doesn't come back till Wednesday, would he be fully healed up, going off 3 days worth of practice and getting everything up to speed? But now that he's got a week, I think that's pretty much. Again, I shouldn't say it's wholly done, because again, a calf injury, you can easily re-injure that, and if you saw the video of how he did re-injure it, or how he injured it in the first place, it's something that could very easily crop up again. But the fact that he's now got this period of time that he can get back slowly, and the Bengals should be fine. I don't think it's going to be something that should impact them. I do still have them winning the AFC North, which, by the way, I will be releasing my divisions predictions at some point. Probably we'll put it in for Friday, but it may get, again, depending on how things work out, it may get pushed to next week. But it will definitely come out before the season starts. So I do still have them winning the North, and this injury recovery from Burrow just probably helps things a lot. Helps things along a lot. And finally, sticking in the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens have signed veteran running back Melvin Gordon to their practice squad. And whilst players signing to practice squads, isn't really the biggest deal. We talked about the Bailey Zappe incident earlier, but I think for the Ravens, signing Melvin Gordon to the practice squad at least, and I don't think they're signing him just for, there will be, this is the build-up for him to at least be in reserve and be promoted to the active roster, to the 53-man, at some point, whether it be through injuries or just he's better than what else they have. I genuinely think this is a sign of just how the Ravens are going to be operating this year. Because if we take a look at an article from ESPN, I made a note of this, article from ESPN on July the 18th, written by Jameson Hemsley, when he was talking about the new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, and what that's going to do to the Ravens offense. In that article, he mentioned how they're going to be leaning on the passing game. I just think with everything that the Ravens have done this offseason, while I just don't think it's going to be leaning on the passing game, or at least relying on the passing game all that much. I do still think they want to get the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands as quickly as possible in whatever way. And I do think the running game is going to be very much a part of that, because they have built their team so much over the past however many years that it is that Lamar Jackson's been their starter. They've built it around the running game. And I think with what has happened with Lamar Jackson and his injury, whilst they do have the weapons to get the ball out of his hands quickly with Odell Beckham Jr. and Zay Flowers, I personally just think they are going to lean on the running game. They are still going to be a run-first team, just because you can't change the whole culture just like that. With the Ravens, again, it took them a while. It took them a year to get used to the Lamar Jackson system. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can do it all within one summer. So I think bringing in players like Melvin Gordon, just bringing in as many options as you can, as many running backs as you can, just to keep them fresh and to make sure that Lamar Jackson stays probably with his injury status. I would be stunned if he rushes, again, in total more than 500 yards, which for someone of Lamar Jackson's ability and what he's been able to do, even with his previous injuries, that might not seem like all that much. But I just think I don't see him running the ball all that much. And I think with the team that they have built, at least for this season, again, this might be a long-term thing. That's why they brought in Zay Flowers. I can see them maybe leaning more towards the passing game in the future. I just don't see them making that adjustment that quickly over the course of one summer. So I think Melvin Gordon, whilst he's on the practice squad, I think that is a very astute signing to bring in as a veteran running back option. Again, if it's running back by committee, or if he establishes himself as number one behind Lamar Jackson, with they do have the option to look at J.K. Dobbins, who I think can be a star despite his tough start to the league. I just can't. I see them being a run. I just see them being a run first team. And again, Melvin Gordon is going to be a great signing to help make that happen. I do not have the Ravens doing well this year. I just not through anything that they have done, but I just think with the Bengals coming first. I think with the Steelers on the up, this is just unbiased in an objective way as possible. I think with the Steelers on the up, I can't see them winning the majority of the games within their division. And again, as I've talked about, with the divisions being so competitive, that just drops it right down. I can't see them making the playoffs with a losing division, with a losing record in this in a tough AFC North, as it were. But Melvin Gordon, if this is so we can take some of the younger running backs under their wing and make this a move for the future, I can see this being a great move. But impactful, yes, but I just don't see it being a great impact. But astute, whilst they try to keep this running game going for again at least for one more season, I think it's a very good move for them to make. And that brings this brings an end to the latest edition of the episode. As always, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, leave comments down below. Links to my socials are also down below in the description, so hit me up on those. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and obviously the WordPress as well, where everything is, which is where the meat and potatoes rather of the content is, with daily articles, at least daily, Monday to Friday. So that's all we have time for today. Until next time, you guys all take care.